Roland Martin.
You probably say, come on, give me a break. Move on, guys.
Roland Martin's commentary brought to you by General Motors. The all-new 2014 Chevrolet Impala, inspired by an eye for the classic, fueled by a passion for the future. The 2014 Chevrolet Impala. Find new roads. From Washington, Roland Martin, good morning.
Hey, Tom, what's happening? Sybil, good morning. Good morning, Jay, as well. Education, huge issue that many Americans are concerned about, especially African Americans. And today, in the nation's capital, there's going to be a forum hosted by Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul on the issue of school choice. He believes that poor minority students should have an opportunity to go to any school they choose to via vouchers, things along those lines. And so he joined us this morning. Senator Paul, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. First off, you're having this forum today, and you're hosting it with four fellow Republican senators, Lamar Alexander, Mike Lee, Mitch McConnell, and Tim Scott. And I'm curious, did you reach out to any House Democrats, state Democrats, to say, let's make this a bipartisan deal as opposed to only GOP senators?
No, I would like to do that. You know, in our side, on the Senate side, the Democrats control the committees, and so we're not allowed to have official hearings. So even this one, we have to call it a roundtable, or they won't let us meet in the Capitol. But we haven't found much interest on the other side to do this. Some of them say they are for charter schools, but like in my state in Kentucky, we can't get a charter law passed to allow charter schools, which are simply public schools, but public schools are allowed to innovate. We can't get it passed because of steadfast Democrat opposition.
Why have you chosen this particular issue? You've got lots of publicity for this as well. You know, why this particular issue?
You know, I think that when you look at unemployment and you look at the overall economic statistics, if you graduate from high school, you have a 25% chance of, being unemployed. If you graduate from college, you have a 4% chance. So I think between that and then also waiting to have your family, those are the two key things that we need. So education's really important. And I've just been blown away. I mean, I was in Nashville yesterday at one of these KIPP charter schools talking to really one of the most articulate young ladies I've seen. And I've got, kids in high school, so I know how articulate or not they are. And this woman was very poised, very articulate, and she's going on to Boston University. I think she came from a disadvantaged background. We had several parents there, and they all were just, one woman said she tried to get her kid into 5 magnet schools but did not win the lottery, and she was at wit's end thinking they were going to have to go to the local crummy school, and then she heard about this charter school and got her child in. But to me, it's sad that you've got twice as many people who want to get into these charter schools, and there's not enough spots, but then you have resistance by some people politically saying, oh, we don't want any charter schools, because it gives too much freedom to both parents and teachers to change and innovate the education.
Is that what they're saying, or are they saying that the charter schools are taking money from the public schools?
Well, you're right. That's probably the way they put it, but charter schools are public schools. So, but you're right. They don't argue it exactly the way I described it. They argue that they think they know better, I guess, how to spend the money. But the thing is the results coming from our traditional schools aren't that good. So when you look at graduation rates from high school in the traditional schools in D.C., it's just not that great. But when you look at those who've gotten vouchers, it's over a 90% graduation rate.
So, Senator Paul, when you say supporting vouchers, give me a percentage or a number in terms of who should get this. And look, I'm a school choice supporter. I've gone to magnet schools as well. But in Illinois, then State Senator James Meeks had a voucher bill that said students who went to the 5% worst schools, meaning in terms of performance, the 5% worst would get the vouchers. The top 95% wouldn't. It passed the Illinois Senate. It died in the House because House Republicans, this was supposedly one of their issues, did not support it. And so who should be able to get vouchers? Are you starting with the worst of the worst or saying anybody?
I think starting with the worst, if that's the coalition it takes to get it passed, is reasonable. And I would vote for any school choice. But I wouldn't say that I would stop there. If more people will support it, I'd do school choice for everybody, because I think what's good for poor kids is also good for middle class kids. But really, there are a lot of kids in poor schools in the cities that aren't doing very well. Why don't we start with the worst of the worst problem? But if it works, let's say charter schools work, my goal would be, why don't we change all schools into charter schools? And this doesn't mean getting rid of public schools. It just means a new model for how we build public schools. And the model is basically that local principals, local teachers have more control about the way they teach. And one of the things I heard yesterday from the parents, which is pretty remarkable and pretty simple, she said that when her kid began at this KIPP charter school, she had to come in and sign a contract saying that she would monitor her homework and that she would ensure that the child was doing the homework and that she would come in periodically and sit down with the teacher. And I hear that over and over again from teachers who are successful. One teacher told me, she said, you know what, the only thing I do, I call every Friday every parent. I have 20 kids in my class or 17 kids in my class. I call every parent on Friday and tell them how they're doing. Johnny's doing his homework. Susie's not doing her math. Johnny did poorly on a math test. And give them feedback and get the parents involved. And I think that's what you've got to do. But these are little things. But really, we got to do more than what we've been doing in the traditional schools.
Sybil and Jay, are charter schools available to everyone?
They're supposed to be.
I think it depends on the area and the state. Sometimes they're open. Most of the time, I think they do have a monetary. You have to be in a lower monetary category to get in, I think. But I think it's different in different states.
But it's just. But I'll say this here, Tom. That is one of the criticisms. But here's the reality: magnet schools are also not available to everybody. Meaning, there's also a process in terms of applying to get in. And so the thing, Senator, that I've always said is that when I look at education, you have a slice that goes to magnet schools, that goes to charter schools, that might go to vouchers, that might go to different programs. But I don't believe in shutting off any avenue. But I certainly believe in the issue of performance and how do you actually get students to learn. But I will say this, Senator, the people who support vouchers, and I challenged them at their conference 2 years ago, that if you truly support the issue, you start with those students that go to the worst of the worst schools and say they should have the opportunity first, not a middle-class student who's doing well, who frankly can go to a fairly decent school.
That would be fair.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. The only argument I would push you a little bit on is if it succeeds and the schools are doing great, for these kids to expand the program.
Well, actually, I would say, Senator, if you go for the bottom 5%, and if it does well, then you go for the bottom 10%, then the bottom 15%. But the fear of many people is that you have individuals who support vouchers who are not minority. They're looking for their kids to go to better schools. I'm saying the challenge is if you start there, people will say, yeah, you care about the people who have the worst education versus some kid who can frankly go to a decent school who's middle class.
Okay. Well, the other thing that's kind of interesting with this is, my kids go to a public school in Kentucky. We actually choose to go to the school in the city, which is a much more diverse community in that school. So we have the reverse of what's happened in America, where people went to the suburbs. We live in the suburbs, and we choose to go to the city school, and it has great academics and also great athletics. And everybody is choosing to go to this school. In fact, so they're trying to limit people now going. But school choice works.
Senator Rand Paul, we certainly appreciate it. Look forward to having you back. Chat about some other issues as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good segment, Roland.
Thank you, sir.
As we look at back to school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Are we going or not? Can we get in? Do you have a voucher? You don't? Oh, don't.